Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody is ready to have a good holiday or has had a good holiday, depending on when you're watching this. It's the 4th edition of Travel Talk. And once again, I've got a flight attendant stories. This is going to deal more with what it's like to be an airline crew member over the holidays. And every airline runs things a little different, so it's not going to be the exact same, but this is kind of the experience I had in 10 years of flying, what it was like to work on the holidays. When you're a new airline employee, especially a newer pilot, newer flight attendant, seniority is everything. So if you're new and you're on reserve, and being on reserve as a pilot or flight attendant means you are basically at your base location, wherever that might be, and you are waiting to be assigned a trip. You might wait. You might be on call, say, Monday through Thursday, 12th through the 16th. You might not get called at all on Monday. You might not get called Tuesday. You might sit for 3 or 4 days and then finally get assigned a trip on the last day, and you're just doing a couple legs on the last day. You might go out right away and say, hey, we got a 5-day trip for you. But when you're on reserve, you're kind of at their mercy. So one of the times that I had Thanksgiving, I didn't actually fly. I was on call, so I basically was just hanging out in a hotel all day, and I waited until about 4 or 5 o'clock. It seemed pretty obvious I wasn't going anywhere, so I went down and I got basically Thanksgiving dinner at Denny's, took it back to the room and watched a DVD. Most every other time that I was flying, I had a schedule in November, so I knew where I was flying to. But I was flying over Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and that entire period of time. Besides not being home with family and you're on the road, probably the biggest thing I always was focused on was, where am I flying to? Where and when am I going to eat? It's great to say have a 30-hour layover somewhere over Thanksgiving. You're done at 12. It's great until you start thinking, okay, I'm done at 12. I'm laying over, say, downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. Where am I going to eat? Everything is closed. Sometimes even the hotel restaurants are like closed by 12. So there isn't always a place to eat, or there's some fancy place that's doing some brunch for $50 a pop that most young flight attendants cannot afford. In fact, I did do one time, I think it was San Jose, we had a layover, and the options were eat out of a vending machine from about 11 a.m. was when we finished our day early, or go to their brunch. So I went to the brunch and spent $35 for brunch. It was in the last hour that it was there, so it was just eat as much as you can, get mimosas, do whatever damage you can now, because there's nothing to eat the rest of the day, nothing close in the area at all. So that was an opportunity where I was able to take advantage of something. But a lot of times you're ending up, you're either in places where everything's closed, or there's nothing anywhere near the hotel, and you just kind of on your own. You eat at the airport if you can. But if you're there long enough, nobody wants to be at a 20-hour layover and not be able to eat most of that time. So what I liked to do was I would pack myself a loaf of bread, some sort of artisanal bread that would not easily squish, and also a jar of Goober peanut butter and grape jelly mixed in the same jar. That was a guaranteed meal. It is not fine dining, but if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, or nowhere, Indiana, and there's nothing around, nothing that's open, it's Thanksgiving afternoon or evening, and you want something to eat, having those 2 items, and then maybe some pretzels or some chips or something like that in my bag, and I always had something available to eat. Call the family up, hey, what are you guys doing? How's the holiday? Oh, we're having turkey and stuffing and all that. What are you doing? Well, I'm in a Holiday Inn, and I'm having peanut butter and jelly and some Doritos. That's just part of, you get to travel and you get to do a lot of free stuff, and then sometimes on the holidays you you eat a little less extravagantly. But that's part of the bargain, and that's one of the things I did. You basically, you didn't have to heat anything up. You didn't have to keep anything cold. You just had to keep the bread from getting squished. That was it. And I would stick that at the top of my roller bag when it was standing up. So it would be on top of everything when it was standing up. And I usually did a pretty good job. Every once in a while, I would be working on a flight and the other flight attendants had no option, and I said, I got PBJs if you're, and they, oh my gosh, I'll take a PBJ, absolutely. So I'd start making PBJs in the back, and passengers coming back, and they thought it was kind of funny because here's these flight attendants all munching down on PBJs. Usually, if you worked a certain number of hours without at least an hour and a half break, usually it was at least 6 hours with no break more than an hour and a half between flights, they had to give you a crew meal. Typically on holidays, they wouldn't even observe the hour and a half thing. They would just say, if it's a holiday and you work X number of hours, you got a crew meal anyway. And a crew meal was kind of like a first class meal. That doesn't necessarily mean fancy. If you're flying domestically, it's like a first class domestic meal. A sandwich, or it might be something that you could heat up. But at least it was something. Twice, either over Thanksgiving or over the Christmas holiday, most of the flight attendants were pulling these meals out. We figured it out in the next few days after the holiday. But basically everybody realized what we got was 2-day-old first class meals. They were not made that day. They were old. In some cases, the sandwiches were moldy or something, or it's just things were not fresh. There was a big brouhaha the day that happened, and everybody's counting on these crew meals as maybe one of the only hot meal you're going to get during the day. And then of course it's something that was old that they just put back on the planes with a little note saying, hey, thanks for flying over the holidays. So that was really frustrating. Most of the time it was at least okay, but you're eating the same stuff over and over and over again. There's only so many times you can eat a little baked chicken breast with a lemon on top of it, reheated in the galley. Not particularly flavorful. Some of them are okay. Pilots often brought hot sauce or something like that. Just douse whatever the crew meal was in hot sauce. People always were very happy to wish us Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, and that was great. But sometimes I like to try and pretend it was not a holiday. It was easier for me to process that, just saying, okay, it's not a holiday. It's just another Tuesday. And then when people keep coming on and go, hey, Happy Thanksgiving, hey, Happy Thanksgiving, are you going to get to see your family? Are you going to get to eat? No, I'm not going to get to eat. I'm going to a Hilton, 8 to 10 miles from the nearest place that might be open, so we can't get to it. No, I'm going to starve and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and watch TV in a hotel room tonight. But thanks for asking. Of course, he didn't say that, but sometimes you just felt like, yeah, don't wish me a happy Thanksgiving. Just let it go. Let's pretend it's just a normal Tuesday and I'm operating. But most people were pretty nice. People were like, hey, we appreciate you working, and we're grateful that you guys are working and sacrificing so that we can get to our destination or what have you. If you're lucky, I did have one Thanksgiving that I ended up in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, they don't go to sleep. There is stuff to do, and there is food available in Las Vegas on Thanksgiving. So it really depended on the location. You get stuck in Las Vegas on Thanksgiving, huge win. Huge win. Lots of food, lots of things to do. You get stuck in Dayton, Ohio, not so great. Not so great for Thanksgiving. Not that Dayton, Ohio is a bad place, because one of my favorite things when I used to lay over in Dayton, we had a hotel that was right next to a Skyline Chili. So on any normal layover in Dayton, I loved it because I could go down to Skyline Chili and get some food, take that back to the room, watch a DVD or something like that. That was awesome. Now over Christmas, almost always flying over Christmas holiday, I would usually celebrate Christmas with my family, go visit my parents, go visit my daughter. I would usually do Christmas with them like 10 days before Christmas because that's when I was off. The middle of the month was when I would be off. Most of the time in December, I was either on reserve or I had to fly a schedule such that I was flying most of the end of the month, the last 10 days or so. To be off during Christmas at the time, for my airline, you needed to be close to 20 years of seniority to be able to hold like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Some flight attendants did like working it because you would get paid extra for a trip that flew on Christmas. But by and large, most of them prefer to just be off. Obviously, they've been flying many years. They've already done the work, the holidays, over and over and over again. So I would end up working the last chunk. I might work like the last 10 of the last 12 days, 10 of the last 11 days, 9 of the last 10 days of the month. So during that end of the month in Christmas, I would just be working nonstop. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, things like that. Just worked a huge chunk of that period of time. And same thing again, it kind of depends on when and where I would look at the lines, not just for when can I be off, when can I go celebrate Christmas with my family, but what is the layover going to be for Christmas?
Where am I staying?
I had a couple of layovers, a couple times in Minneapolis, and we had a hotel. Our crew hotel was by the Mall of America. That wasn't so bad. Christmas is obviously not open, but if you were there, if you were laying over early on Christmas Eve, or you laid over Christmas night and you were there half of the 26th, the day after Christmas, that's not so bad. Yeah, it's crowded, but if you got a huge, massive mall that you can go into that's 5-minute walk from the hotel, that's not so bad if you need some entertainment, things to eat, and things like that. So that was always a huge, huge plus. Of course, during my time as a flight attendant, I'd already worked, around 8 years at Disney, so I was used to working the holidays. At least at Disney, working at Disney, I would either be able to celebrate whatever the holiday was in the morning, or in the afternoon or the evening. I might work during the day, but then go home at night and we could do something. Over time, working the holidays, you kind of have the right mindset. You know you're going to do it. You kind of work into it, but it does get old after, 5, 10, 15 times that you don't go and see anybody for Thanksgiving or what have you. Sometimes you just wanted to be off. You wanted to go spend time with friends or family, and you wanted to not fly, not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for Thanksgiving, and just sit at home and watch football and that kind of stuff, and not guess as to what's going to happen this year during the holidays. So one of the reasons I stopped flying was I had finally vowed that I was going to spend the next year's holidays with family, and I said I'm going to be home for the holidays. And so that was one of the things where I just kind of said I'm finally going to pull the plug on flying. So that's just a little something about what it's like to fly over the holidays. Obviously food and what's open and what you're able to do is a huge thing. These days with technology, it's made it so much better. In the earliest days of my flying, DVDs were still pretty new. I had a DVD player, or a portable DVD player with it that I carried with me, and it wasn't too long after a couple of years I had a laptop. I found a laptop invaluable for bringing movies, TV shows with me so I could watch whatever I wanted to watch and wasn't stuck with whatever was on in the hotel. Being able to reach out and communicate with friends on the internet and things like that. That was a huge plus. But having that peanut butter and jelly sandwich available was pretty awesome too. I'm sure there will be more flight attendant stories to come. We also are going to have, if you like Monorail Monday, I am going to bring that back in January, but I will have one, maybe 2 episodes in December that will be all about what it's like to work at Walt Disney World over the holidays. And not just Christmas, Thanksgiving, July 4th, Halloween, things like that. So in December, look for at least 1, maybe 2 episodes, special episodes of Monorail Monday. I'll talk about working the holidays at Walt Disney World. Thanks for joining us. There's going to be, if you like our cruise videos, there's still a few more cruise videos yet to come. Friday, we're going to have the ship tour, a tour of Harmony of the Seas at Royal Caribbean. Love that ship. We're going to have actually 2 tour videos. There's going to be one coming Friday that's a tour of the ship, all the passenger areas. And then coming up in the next week or 2 after that, there's going to be another tour video that's going to be behind the scenes. Crew areas, behind the scenes lower decks, places that passengers normally are not allowed. That is going to be a different tour video. So if you see 2 tour videos, that's it. There's one for all the passenger areas, and there's going to be a one behind the scenes all access tour. So there will be 2 separate tour videos coming up. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Most importantly, kids, remember, especially around the holidays, have a good time all the time.